Hi everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with my October wrap up. It's been a rough week. Okay, so I read 15 books, 1 novella, and I think that's a pretty good month for me. And I would say overall, a lot of books got 4 stars this month. And so for the most part, it was a pretty good month for me. I'm pretty happy with the way it went. So first is young adult. I read 4 YA books and 1 novella. So the first one is Say What You Will by Cami McGovern. This got 4.5 stars. Maybe 4. I don't know. The more time I spend away from this book, the more I think about it, and my rating kind of drops more to a 4. But when I initially read it, I was floored by, I was just in awe over it. And if you don't know, this book is called Amy and Matthew in other countries. But it's about a girl with cerebral palsy and a guy with OCD, and he ends up becoming one of her peer aides for her senior year of college or high school. And it's about their relationship and both of their journeys and everything. I found Amy a little annoying. I totally appreciate where she comes from, and I really liked reading from her POV because you just don't get a lot of that in books. And I appreciated how intelligent she was, but I thought she was a little immature sometimes, and she made really stupid decisions several times. There's something that happens in here that if you've read the book, I kind of feel like I get what Cami McGovern was trying to do, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But Matthew, I loved. I thought he was a great character. Like I said before, he has OCD. I'm somebody, I don't remember if I kept this in my book haul or if I cut it out in the editing, so I'll try and make it quick just in case it was in there. I have OCD, I'm not diagnosed or anything technically, but it was pretty bad when I was in high school and my early years of college. And I share a lot of the same compulsions that Matthew has. There was a period in my life when it was pretty bad. I didn't share a lot of how bad it got with people in my life, and I think a lot of people in my family and everything just thinks that I have fixations with numbers. But it was a really scary time in my life, and I kind of forced myself out of that, which is sort of what happens to Matthew. But so I just connected with him a lot. I really liked his story, and I really enjoyed him. The ending, I could have used a little more, but at the same time I appreciate it. I don't know, I'm torn. I was going to do a video review on this, and I never did, and I think I never will because I just have too many thoughts that aren't organized. So next I read Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood, and this is the first book in the Cahill Witch Chronicles. This got 4 stars from me, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun and different. It's kind of an alternate history where witches exist and are a thing. So this is kind of near the turn of the 19th century, but everything is so different because witches exist and there's this other religious organization that's kind of come to power in the world and everything, and it's really weird, but it completely makes sense. And I love that the author includes details from other parts of the world to just flush it out. It's not a ton of information, but it's just enough for you to be knowledgeable. And our main character, what is her name? Kate? I'm pretty sure her name is Kate. Yeah. Kate, I really enjoy her, and I'm very curious to see what happens in the future and what's going to go on in this world. And fortunately, I was at the outlet store, which is where I bought this, and they actually had the second book, Star Cursed, for $1.99, so I did buy that, so I don't have to wait. So I might read that next month. If you're looking for a good witch book, which I don't read a lot of witch books, so maybe it's not a good one, but to me it's good, and it's just something different in the paranormal world. It kind of reads like a contemporary, but just enough different. It's odd. It's just something you have to kind of read. Next is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. This is a book I bought this month, and I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy this, and I saw a lot of myself in the main character. We have some similar personality traits, but mostly they're negative ones. Characteristics that I'm aware that I have that are bad or could potentially be bad that she shares. And I really kind of started to read the story as if I was her, which doesn't happen that often. But I did have a few issues with this book. If you don't know what it's about a girl who she tries to commit suicide, and then that happens pretty early on, like that's not a secret, and then it's kind of about her recovery. And I found that really interesting, and she finds herself in music and DJing and stuff, and I think that's an interesting concept, but I have some issues with some of the execution. I'm just not sure that she made some of the healthiest decisions, and I feel like this has been coming up a lot lately in YA books, or maybe it's just the ones I'm reading, where it's hard for me because if you're writing a book, you should be able to write about whatever you want. But at the same time, if you're writing YA, a lot of times I think you're walking a line of writing something that's acceptable and appropriate, and if you have something that's like illegal or dangerous, there should be negative ramifications. But is my imposing that on an author the right thing to do? I don't know. But a lot of my issues with that were along those lines. And overall, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It's a slightly different contemporary read. It's not like some light, fluffy, romancy contemporary. So if that's, hair, not what you're looking for, then you might enjoy this. And I read Perfect Scoundrels by Ally Carter, and this is the 3rd, maybe last book in the High Society series. I haven't seen anything about a 4th book, and she's got a new book coming out in a new series in January, and I know she's working on, she was just saying something on Twitter about the 2nd book in that series, so that makes me think this is wrapped up. I gave this 4 stars, I'm not sure if I said that or not. I really like this series, but I don't like it as much as the Gallagher Girls books. The Gallagher Girls books seem to have like a cohesive arc over all of them, whereas these seem to be more like standalones with a little bit of character development for the main character Katerina and a little bit of like relationship-y progression. But I would have liked to see a little more, and there's still one thing I don't know the answer to. What is Hale's first name? What is it? I feel like that's something we need to know. How is this not something that's been told? There must be another book just so I can get that question answered. And then the novella I read was called Double Crossed, and it is also by Ally Carter, and this is a crossover like short novella between the High Society characters and the Gallagher Girls characters. It really focuses on Hale from High Society, who I love, and Macy from Gallagher Girls, which is one of Cammie's friends. And it was fun. It was kind of like dangerous for what these books normally are. And even though it was only about 60 pages, I thought she did a really good job executing the story and like having the heightened state of emotion. I gave it 4 stars. I think it's free. I got it for free on my Nook, and I believe it is still free, at least on the Nook. I'm assuming on the Kindle too. I think you have to read Gallagher Girls and High Society to fully enjoy it, because it definitely relies on prior knowledge that you would know who these characters are. Like Cammie shows up for a little bit, and Kat is in there a little bit, Cammie's mom is in there a little, and it was really fun. I liked seeing the characters interact. I thought Macy and Hale were funny together, and it just made me kind of want her to write more stuff like this. I did like a quick little written review where I mentioned this, that like if you've read both of these series, there's just characters, can you imagine them getting together, like Liz and Simon, or wait, is that his name? Yeah, I think that's his name, the computer guy. And Cammie and Kat and stuff. Can you just imagine them meeting and just like going on hijinks together. I think it'd be hilarious. Then on to the new adult I read 3 books, 1 in physical copy and 2 in ebooks. So the first one is Stay With Me by Jalen / Jennifer Larmentrout. Use one name. It's annoying. I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think I said this in my haul. This book is huge, but actually I feel like she uses the page count really well. It really allows their relationship to progress at a like fairly healthy rate. I liked Jax and Calla, who remember her not at all from Be With Me. And the characters from Wait For You and Be With Me show up in here a lot, which is fun. And Calla's past could totally be super angsty, and it has moments of that, but she's a fairly funny girl, and I think it was this like nice blend of the angst with the like humor lightness. And she is scarred, and so she has to deal with that, and I really appreciate it, especially a scarred woman, because it doesn't mean you're not pretty, and that's good, and you need to deal with it, and I love that we're getting more and more of that in fiction. Wait For You, well, Trust Me is my favorite, because it's Wait For You from Cam's perspective, and Cam is awesome. But then Wait For You, then Stay With Me, then Be With You. But the next book in this series, Forever With Me, Forever With You, something like that, I don't know. I'm super excited for, because those 2 characters got introduced in here, and I just cannot wait to read their story. And I'm loving that cover, because the girl in that book has glasses, and she actually has glasses on the cover, and you just do not see that a lot, you guys. The other 2 books I read were Make It Count and Make It Right by Megan Erickson. And these are 2, I would call them like lighter new adult reads. Like the characters don't have like tragic past. It was really a nice like breather. And the first one, Make It Count, is, oh, that's it, Make It Count. She has dyslexia. She doesn't know it, but she does. And she ends up kind of getting into this relationship with this super smart guy, and she just like feels really embarrassed because she has trouble with school. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a nice, lighter, new adult read. It wasn't anything like mind-blowing or special. And then Make It Right is about 2 other characters in like that same world, and these are both set in college. And the girl in Make It Right actually she was in a car accident, so she has like a limp and some scarring on her leg. That's another one that had deformities, I guess. So I did read a lot of that this month, which I really enjoyed. And she was fun, and he was fun. I really liked him and her. They were just a really good couple, and this one I gave 4 stars as well. And what was really nice about both of these books is the author, Megan Erickson, she gave a lot of like wrap up at the end, like after the major conflict was solved with the characters and like their romance and everything. There was a lot of like wrapping everything up time at the end, and I just, not enough authors do that, and I love that. I just love seeing happiness for a little while. It makes me believe more that they're going to be happy in the end. Next is the adult books I read. I didn't know where to put these because I feel like they're not really romances, especially the second one, so I made it an adult category. And that is Insatiable and Overbite by Meg Cabot. And Insatiable was a reread for me, but I didn't really remember that much, so it was basically like going into it again. And Insatiable I gave 3 stars, and Overbite I gave 2, unfortunately. So what this series is about a girl named Nina, or a woman named Nina, and she is a soap opera writer, and vampires are like the it thing. These take place kind of when like Twilight was blowing up. The company that owns the television network that her soap opera is on is like, we're gonna do vampires, and she's just so over it. And then she meets a vampire in real life, and things happen, and there's this secret church organization that's been hunting vampires, and she also can tell when people are gonna die, like can predict it, so there's like her side of paranormal things. The first one is okay. Like I said, I give it 3 stars. It's a little slow, like the pacing, but it doesn't feel like it drags, it's just more like it's a slow moving book, and it never like speeds up. It's just like very consistent. Even when the action picks up, the writing doesn't seem to escalate the same way. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I felt. And Overbite was even slower, and it's such a small book. This book, they both took me like a week to get through each. I had to like read other books because I couldn't do it, but this one, I mean, it's like half the size, and I was really struggling. The problem is that there's a lot of character changing in Overbite. Like, Mina changes, Lucian the vampire changes. There's just a lot of things that just didn't make sense to me in the second book, and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Next is the romance. So I read What a Wallflower Wants by Maya Rodale, and I read this because I was listening to the DBSA podcast, of course, and they were interviewing, or Sarah was interviewing, I think it's one of the women that reviews on her website, and she was talking about this book. She had just read it, and just the way she was, like, the content interested me, but the way she talked about it made me want to read it. Like, that she was that passionate about it that I was just driven to pick it up. So I bought it on my Nook and read it instantly and devoured it and loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I find it's harder to, I'm like struggling to give books 5 stars lately. I don't know, it's very odd. It's about a woman, it's a historical romance, and it's about a woman named Prudence, and she is raped at a ball. And it does get described, so if that's something that you're not comfortable with, then I would stay away from this book. But she doesn't tell anyone, of course, and because then horrible, I mean, if anyone knows, she'd probably have to marry the guy. And it kind of colors her life. She kind of becomes even more enclosed, and she's like completely afraid of men, and then other things happen to her. She just keeps getting like screwed over by guys. And then she is like walking along a road, and this guy comes along and is like, oh, let me take you to the like town, and she's just like, no, like, I'm gonna keep walking, because at this point she doesn't trust men, and why would she? And finally she gets there, but he's like paid for a room for her and everything, because he actually is a good guy. And they kind of, because of weather, end up stuck there together, and slowly he like starts to chip away at her facade, and he can tell that something happened to her, and he's just very supportive, and their like relationship, both emotionally, is handled very well, but also sexually, like, because obviously she has to recover from what happened to her. And then there's this, like, his story is so interesting, and it's my first Maya Rodale book. It's actually the 3rd book in a series. I read See Jane Score by Rachel Gibson. I went and saw my alma mater, St. Lawrence University, came to Rochester to play RIT in hockey at the beginning of the month. And of course I went, because why not? I went to a hockey school. So I attended, and that just kind of got me in the mood for hockey. So I don't know a lot of hockey books. If you know any good hockey books, like hockey romance or something, let me know. But See Jane Score is the 2nd book, I think, in her Chinooks hockey series. I'm not a huge fan of the first one. It has secret babies, and I don't like secret baby as a storyline at all. But I love this book. I don't think this book is for everyone, though. I think it has some issues that could bother some people, but I love it. I don't know, it's just a fun hockey contemporary romance. It's definitely dated a little bit, but I'm okay with it. Then I read She Tempts the Duke by Lorraine Heath, who I'm quickly just falling head over heels for. I just want to, like, it takes everything I have not to buy every book of hers so I can just devour them. This is the first book in a series. It's a historical romance, and it's about 3 brothers who, their dad dies, and then their uncle is going to try and kill them so he can become the Duke. They kind of figure out that's what he's trying to do, and they're trying to find a way to run away. And then their neighbor, Mary, that's her name, right? Yeah, Mary, she comes over because she hears, and she helps them run away. And I think the oldest one is like 14 at the time or something, and she's like 12. So they run away, and nobody knows what happened to them. And the book picks up like 12 years later, 12, 13 years later, and the three brothers have returned, and they're completely different. They've been apart this whole time because obviously it made sense to split up. So their relationship is strained, and the oldest brother, the true Duke, Sebastian, he went into the army, and he's like horribly scarred. He is missing an eye, and like that side of his face is all scarred, and he's just, it's been really rough, and he's really ashamed of the way he looks. Like he always like turns to like try and hide it and everything. But he meets up with Mary like they just like storm into a ball one day one night and show up, and she is recently engaged. They meet again, and they were very good friends as kids, and it definitely felt like they were friends, like they kissed or whatever, but it was like nothing. It was like kids, like being kids. And I really liked it. They kind of had this like friendship, but they're both attracted to each other, but he doesn't understand how she could possibly be attracted to him because he's so ugly, and she just, it's so good. And then I read the Redhead series by Alice Clayton, so that's The Unidentified Redhead, The Redhead Revealed, and The Redhead Plays Her Hand. They all got 4 stars from me, and I'm planning on doing a review. I'm actually planning on filming that next, so I'm not going to talk too much, plus this video is already obnoxiously long. They're funny, they're good, they feel like an Alice Clayton novel, but I like Wallbanger a little bit more. Grace is a little immature, especially in book 2, but she learns as she goes. I think it's a fun contemporary romance. It's definitely kind of heavy on like the sexy times, so if that makes you uncomfortable, then you might want to stay away. So those are the books that I read in October, and I'm not planning on doing a November TBR. I am reading After by Anna Todd on Wattpad. I've been hearing a lot about it, and I just need to, I know I'm not gonna like it, and I'm not liking it at all, but I just need to like read it, and I don't know, I won't include that in it because I'm not reading like the actual published book, which I'm assuming fixes a lot of like the continuity and grammatical errors that are in the Wattpad version. So I'm not going to like rate it on Goodreads or anything like that, but if you've heard of it and you want me to talk about it, let me know, and I will probably talk about it in my wrap-up, but it won't count towards like my reading goal or anything like that, because that doesn't seem fair. But if you have any questions about any of the books that I read, or you want to talk about them, feel free to do so in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye!